As you can see here, my rabbitry, my rabbit room is quite large, but I want to point out that this rabbitry did not start this large, and in fact, I never really intended on it being this large. It kind of took its own direction as I got into it, got my feet wet, got some experience breeding and growing grow out litters, and also with the experience of the demand in my area. Now, I don't really sell meat. I do sell some breeders. Most of this meat is for my own home use. We use a lot, but I have a large family of 6 with some, and my children are adults. So, you know, they often come with boyfriends and fiancés and things like that. So they use a lot of the meat too. But what I'm trying to get at here is that you don't need to try and start out this big. I did not start out this big. I started with 4 cages down here in this corner, not these cages. And as time went on, I expanded and grew. I made a room expressly for the does where they are nice, quiet, a little bit separated, not so bothered by what else is going on. An area for bucks that is enough separated from them that we don't have issues with the does getting nervous when they have kits in the cage. We don't have issues with the bucks trying to spray and you know, spread their scent and things like that. And then I've got the areas for the grow outs, 2 banks actually, that makes it easy for me to keep things separated, keep track of them, keep weights on them if I'm looking to see what I might want to keep for potential breeders, things like that. Or if I just, you know, generally, I would say not every single litter of grow outs if I'm not actively looking for breeding, selling, or replacement stock. But I do, even on litters that are just for grow outs intended to be harvested and eaten, I do sometimes keep track of the weights on them too, just so I can see what rate we're getting, if it's staying consistent, if I need to make changes in the breeding program, see how different combinations of does and bucks together are doing, what they're producing. But I would say that even if this is your intention, something this large, I would not recommend starting out this large. I recommend starting out how I did, with a couple of does and a buck or 2. And, you know, my replacement stock, my breeding stock, a lot of it has come from there. There have been times when I decided that, hey, I wanted to see what we could do with a little bit different genetics, kind of up the genetics a little bit. And I did buy in a Californian and a New Zealand from a local breeder, really reputable breeder with good stock. So these are the kinds of things. Just, first of all, just keep enough for you. Learn to manage a few litters. It's hard to explain, but once you get litters, once you get grow outs and start figuring out how you're going to house them, how you're going to manage them, how often you want to be able to harvest, how many you want to keep, you start to get a feel for it and of the size that you want. Now, a lot of breeders will go much smaller scale for themselves than I do. I have to say that if I'm being completely honest, I'm probably more invested here than I need to be for home use, but part of that is an interest level. I really just enjoy keeping the rabbits. I enjoy the breeding, mixing and matching and seeing what we can come up with. You know, I do intend to get into maybe one more breed just for the fun of it, because hey, if you're putting all this effort into it, why not make it so that you enjoy it? But if what you enjoy is keeping just a pair of breeders and getting a litter or 2 at a time, you know, just harvesting between like 3 and 5 litters a year, well, then you don't need to go this big scale at all. But keep it simple in the beginning. Don't overinvest. As you kind of get your feet under you, and as you see what the local demand might be, either for pet foods, live rabbit sales, meat sales. Meat sales is a little tricky because it really depends on what your local regulations are. But as you see how things unfold, then you can make decisions. And the beauty of rabbits is that it doesn't take long to scale up. So even though you may start with a trio or a breeding pair, you know, in 6 months, one of your offspring, two of your offspring, many of them could become breeders too. And then, you know, in a month after that, you've got litters of kits out of that. Or if you buy a new buck and doe, you know, it only takes a month, maybe two, before you've got kits on the ground. So that's the beauty of rabbits. It's not like cattle or pork or anything else where you have to grow these out for a year or more before you can even make those determinations and start to get them breeding. So, you know, really easy and manageable to kind of grow as you go. So that's my spiel on this. I hope you'll visit the website, which is meetrabbits.org, where we discuss this in more detail in the article, and there's plenty of other articles to help you get going.